In the 2005-2006 season, the Seattle Seahawks made it to the Super Bowl for the first time in their history. They went up against the Pittsburgh Steelers, but unfortunately the Seahawks would lose 21-10. The Super Bowl went down as one of the most controversial Super Bowls in NFL history due to key controversial calls led by former NFL official Bill Levy. That changed the course of the game. Here were the notable ones. Darrell Jackson's offensive pass interference that prevented a touchdown that would have given him a 7-0 lead instead of a 3-0 lead, and it looked like there wasn't really much evidence of a pass interference caused by Darrell Jackson. But Hines Ward would beg to differ. Ben Roethlisberger's touchdown, where many believe he didn't even break the plane and he was already down, and an offensive holding call that stalled the Seahawks' chances of punching it in at the goal line, leading to an eventual interception. There was even a case for an offsides on the Steelers, but that was not called at all. Although these calls did hurt the Seahawks and there was validity that the refs' controversial calls arguably helped the Steelers win the Super Bowl, or even Bill Levy admitted it, I am actually here to prove that the Seahawks didn't help themselves and still could have won this game, even with the controversial calls. But before we get started, hit that subscribe button if you would like to see more of my videos that includes the honest takes, even if you may not like them. But hey, I'd rather be honest than a pandering liar. Also, this was a video that I wanted to do for a long time. First off, I want to get this one out of the way, regarding the Ben Roethlisberger rushing touchdown. Initially, there was a thought that Ben was already down and snuck the ball out to convince the refs that he got the touchdown like it was cat and mouse. There was a challenge, and when it was reviewed, you actually could see that Ben broke the plane while he was in the air before his knees touched the ground. I will do it in slow motion and put the lines in the picture and leave it up to you. Personally, I will say it's a touchdown, even though it's an unpopular opinion to most Seattle fans. And even if Ben was called down, the Steelers still would have had a chance to tie the game with a field goal or have Jerome Bettis punch it in on 4th down. One of the actual factors why the Seahawks lost this game was tight end Jerramy Stevens. Throughout the game, although he caught a touchdown pass, he dropped 3 critical passes. The first one was on a 3rd down and could have been a 1st down, but couldn't hold on to the ball after contact, which arguably should have been a fumble, forcing the Seahawks to punt. Another play was when Hasselbeck had a beautiful throw to Stevens, and he dropped it again, which could have gotten the Seahawks to the goal line for a chance to score. Instead, the Seahawks were forced to kick a field goal, which they missed. Lastly, Stevens dropped another pass that seemed routine, which could have gave the Seahawks a momentum in the offense. Another thing that didn't help Stevens' cause was before the Super Bowl, he made an unnecessary comment about Jerome Bettis, who was on his way to retire after the season. The story of Jerome Bettis returning to his hometown Detroit is heartwarming, but it's going to be a sad day when he doesn't walk away with that trophy. These statements upset Joey Porter of the Steelers, and he had some things to say about it.
You was walking down the alley by yourself. Who would you go take down the alley with you? Me or Stevens? Tell the truth. You're lying. You're talking too long. You don't want to tell the truth. You lying. You know who you gonna take. Really is like Joey, Jerramy.
This is the stuff he shouldn't have said, since he hasn't exactly backed up his case to even prove that he was worth a 1st-round pick for the Seahawks. And if you can't back up what you're saying, then don't make such comments like that. Not only would that provoke the Steelers, not being able to back up what you say after dropping critical passes makes you look like an idiot. There were 3 instances where the Seahawks gave up huge plays that impacted much of the game. In the first half, when the Seahawks had a 3-0 lead, they performed a sack on Ben Roethlisberger and was eventually pinned on the 3rd and 28, giving the Seahawks a potential upper hand. However, Ben made a huge pass to Hines Ward, which led to a touchdown. At the start of the second half, the Seahawks somehow gave up a 75-yard touchdown to Willie Parker. After Matt Hasselbeck threw a critical interception after that controversial holding call against the Seahawks, the Steelers made a huge touchdown pass to Hines Ward off a trick play with Antoine Randall L making the big pass. Another problem that hindered the Seahawks' chances, and nobody seems to talk about it, was kicker Josh Brown. He missed a field goal at the end of the first half that could have made it at least 7-6, and missed another field goal in the second half that could have made it at least 14-6. By those misses, the Seahawks lost 6 points, and had Brown made those field goals, that could have helped the confidence and momentum. And sure, Josh Brown was not in favorable positions to make those field goals, as they were in long range, but you were in a dome, so you really did not have any excuses. After the Seahawks gave up the first controversial touchdown to Ben Roethlisberger, there was still a chance for the Seahawks to score a touchdown before the end of the first half, or at least score a field goal. There was an instance where the Seahawks ran the ball with Sean Alexander with less than a minute left, but right after that, Matt Hasselbeck took so much time calling an audible, which burned so much time that it was actually stopped by the Steelers surprisingly with a timeout. By this lack of time management, the Seahawks burned so much time where Matt Hasselbeck was forced to throw a long one, which nearly happened, but Darrell Jackson was out of bounds. Even after the Steelers scored their second touchdown, the Seahawks still had a shot to get back into the game, and even a Hasselbeck fumble was spared by the refs due to Mike Holmgren's challenging the call. But the Seahawks failed to capitalize and was forced to punt. They even got the ball back once again, and lack of time management led them to fail to put up any points once again, ending the Super Bowl. Had they scored, they could have had at least a chance to get the ball back on an onside kick and maybe score again to win the game, although that would have been a pretty low chance, but you just never know. At the end of the day, sure, the refs made controversial calls, but the points I made on the Seahawks failing themselves were arguably much more damaging than Bill Levy's calls. But those are my thoughts. Let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think the game was still rigged? Or do you think the Seahawks didn't help themselves after watching this video?